And now, Tales from the Mission.
There was one day, it was my first area, and I had a really hard time with the language, and I was on divisions with another elder. And so we were walking through this area. I didn't really know my area too well, and we were a walking mission. And Paraguay, they don't have addresses down there in a lot of the areas that I served. And so, like, the area books that we had, we would have to literally draw maps, and we would say, all right, this house is like 3 palm trees down from this water tower, and just turn left at the cow or whatever. And so
past the pile of coconuts. Yeah.
yeah. And so I was lost pretty frequently. And there was one day where I kind of got lost. I lost my way, and I was just like, okay, let me see if I can get us out of here. And so I picked a path. I was just like, all right, what should we do? I prayed, and I was like, I think I should go down this path. So we go down this path, and we walk right into, like, there's this massive house, and there's like a bunch of people outside of this house, and they're all screaming and they're all crying. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? And they had like just open fences. They would have a lot of like yard space. And so they had a table out there, and it was just out in the open just for everyone to see. And there was on the table a box, and in the box was a dead baby. And so we had walked into this situation, and I was just like, holy smokes, I've never seen that before. And the elder that was with me, he had less time in the mission than I had at that point. And I was like maybe 3 or 4 weeks into the mission. And so he looked at me, he was like, because these people invited us in. As soon as they saw us, they were like, come over here. And so we went over there. Neither of us could speak very much Spanish, but I remember that the father came up to us, and he was completely grief-stricken, like this man. And you never forget a look like that. You'll never forget a look of someone who has just lost their child and the kind of grief that comes over them. But he turned to us, and he didn't really say anything except why. That was the only thing he just kept saying. And we sat there with him, and we just kind of shared a moment of silence with him. And then we were able to share some scriptures with him about how God is going to receive his child into heaven, and that he doesn't have to worry about the fate of that child, So we were able to offer some comfort and some help there, and he thanked us for stopping by, and everyone received us really graciously. We didn't really go back after that, and I don't know if I could go back after that because I was lost, but I do know that day we were kind of led into that area at that time, just to kind of give this father a moment of comfort, and that was really special to me.
That is super special. I think that we don't realize how often on your mission, your purpose is not to proselytize specifically in that moment.
Yeah.
Like that was not a moment of teaching in the way that you would have thought. Really, You were there to offer a soothing balm from the scriptures, right?
Yep.
You're there to comfort those and to mourn with those that need it. And I think that it's totally fine to just be led into those moments from God and comfort, and to walk away knowing that you did exactly what God needed you to do in that moment. That's a great story.
Yeah,
that's an interaction like that in the darkest moment of your life can shift things for the better in an infinite way. So that's awesome.
and for a young man, I mean, that really, those moments really, they've stayed with me. They've shaped me, they've formed me. And so, kind of like going back earlier to what we were talking about kids kind of breaking down and stuff like that. Maybe we'll get into this later, but I mean, there are moments, and I think this elder that I talked about earlier, I think he had moments like that, and that's what helped him realize that he needed to be on the mission, because he saw that people needed him. He saw that there was actual needs there, and he was able to help and serve people, and that was able to help him overcome any anxieties or insecurities. Because during that time, I didn't really worry about the idea that I couldn't speak Spanish very well. I wasn't worried about not knowing the culture super well. I wasn't worried about how uncomfortable it was. I was just focused on trying to help these people as much as possible. And that was helpful, especially for a teenager who is not used to helping people.
Right.
Like that is incredibly helpful.
Yourself. Man, maybe we should maybe it's good that we don't coordinate our mission stories, because mine is not nearly as impactful. Mine's a little more humorous today. So
let's do it. Yeah, get into it.
Let's this is raw, this is authentic. We were walking down the sidewalk, and I think it was early spring in, I want to say, Mascouche, which is like a small suburb north of Montreal.
Yeah.
In Canada. And we had a miserable day knocking on doors. Nobody wanted to talk to us. And we had said a very special prayer, hoping to find someone at the end of the day that kind of, put a positive spin on the day. And as we're walking down the sidewalk back towards our apartments, this car drives by, and it slows down ahead of us, like it had seen us and wanted to talk to us.
Yeah.
We were so excited. And then we see it turn around and go back this way, and then turn around again, like it's coming up to us. So we stop there and we stand right on the edge of the curb because we want to talk to them from their car. And they slow down for a minute, and then they speed up and splash the giant puddle that was right next to us all over us as they're flipping us off and driving away.
Yeah.
I remember looking at my companion and thinking, like, this is it, Elder. This is the answer to our prayers today. And the guy just in the car, just seeing us with his big trolling face and just splashing us with water and mud and just flipping us off and driving away. And, it did put a positive spin, because we had nothing to do but to laugh at that point. Like, it was so comical, the rudeness of that guy after a terrible day of being yelled at by strangers, that we laughed all the way home. It was a funny way to end the day. But sometimes things just don't work out for you on that day. Hard days are good for you, and they make you a better person.
And I think that's actually a really important lesson to learn, is that more days than not, life is humdrum. Life is not every single day isn't necessarily a Liahona moment. And so it's really important to understand, like, just to be able to learn how to cope with that mentally and emotionally on a mission. It trains you. It builds up like a resilience in you to say, like, even though we haven't had success in a long time and people hate us and I get yelled at pretty much every single day, I'm going to do it again.
Yeah. I mean, you don't go on a mission for fun. That's not, you go to help people, it's going to be miserable in most of the time, it's going to be a character building experience.
Yeah.
So yeah.